Update: AITAH for refusing a wedding gift, knowing there will be strings attached? Hi everyone. I posted here a couple of weeks ago and got some wonderful advice. A few people asked for an update, and I thought I'd let you know what happened. It's not good. If you didn't see my original post, my future MIL offered us $25,000 towards our wedding, but I knew there would be strings attached to make the event her way. I thought maybe I was the for overreacting or seeing something that wasn't there, but you all told me I was 100% correct. So I decided to have a heart-to-heart with my future Mill, with my fiancé attending too. I told her that I miss the relationship we used to have, but it's become strained because I feel she has not respected the choices we have made for our wedding. We explained that we aren't depositing the check until we have this conversation, and we're all on board about how we move forward. I know we didn't need to provide a rationale, we just required acceptance, but I thought it would help her understand. The wedding size. I reminded her that my fiancé and I are introverts. We would be maxed out emotionally and mentally with 50 people. And quite frankly, we only want the people who have been a part of our lives to be there, so celebrate with us. There's no need for childhood neighbors to attend. There's no need for distant cousins we haven't seen in 15 years to attend. Just the people who have been with us on our journey. The wedding gown. This is non-negotiable. A bride chooses her gown, and I will be choosing one that I can be comfortable being in. This is the first time I'll be wearing a dress since prom. Reflects my personal style, and makes me feel beautiful. Not anyone else's personal style. The venue. Okay, this is a bit cringe, but my fiancé and I met at a speed dating event a restaurant was running 4 years ago. We hit it off, and here we are. Our absolute first choice for the reception venue was this place. Their event space will fit 50 max. We thanked her for her generous $25,000, but we would give it back if our decisions aren't respected. We asked if she has any expectations around any decision-making that comes with the gift. My future MIL cried and apologized and told us she just wanted everything to be perfect, and she's sad that she never had a daughter who she can play a normal motherly role in wedding planning, that she was so scared that I'd leave her out of everything, which I never did. I wanted her to feel included. So there you go. We had a resolution. We deposited the check and started to move from the spitballing ideas to confirming vendors phase. When I called the restaurant we wanted for the reception, their private function room was unfortunately booked out for our very specific date that we can't change, which was really sad. So we decided to start looking at other options. A few days later, I get a call from a wedding planner who proceeds to tell me that my future MIL hired her to help with the wedding. WTF. I called my future MIL, and she explained that my fiancé mentioned we lost our preferred venue and wanted to take some pressure off my shoulders, and hired a wedding planner. She insisted the planner was just to do all the background admin tasks. Okay. I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm not sure why a wedding planner is needed for a small wedding, or why they'd even bother taking the job, but if my future MIL wants to spend her money on making things a little easier for me, that's fine. I met with the planner twice, described our vision for the wedding, and she said she'd put together some bookings to view venues, taste cakes, etc. Here's where the shit hits the fan. The planner sent us a list of venues she's booked for us to see. We had a look online, and all of the venues are large, like designed for 200 guests. We're confused, and when we went to the first appointment yesterday, my fiancé joked that 50 people won't need this much dance room. The planner looked confused and explained that future MIL contacted her last week to explain that we were considering expanding the wedding and would need a bigger space than originally planned. We got home and I called my mom and cried to her that this is all just too damn much, and we are now considering eloping. My mom's spidey senses tingled, and she called the original restaurant we wanted and was like, "I'm calling about an event my sister is planning, and she's so forgetful, I just want to confirm she's booked the private function room. It's for, and my sister's name is, two." You guys, this bitch booked the fucking venue out from under us. She booked it and paid a deposit to secure it so we couldn't have it. I can only imagine she did this to slowly convince us to book a larger venue and host a larger reception. My fiancé called her and tore her a new one. He told her she's no longer involved in any aspect of planning, we will not be working with her planner, all vendors will be password protected, and she's lucky she's even still invited, but will only be attending as a guest. No speech, no mother-son dance. He also told her that if she interferes at all again, she won't even be allowed as a guest. We transferred the money back to her account. I told him I'm going no contact. I don't really want her there, but I will be polite on our wedding day because I don't want drama. But then, I'm back to no contact for good. He is 100% backing me up. Someone at work stole my chair, so I had them arrested. I got a new job in sales working for a company that sells access control systems, CCTV systems, etc. The chair in my cubicle was uncomfortable AF, so day 3 I brought in my own Herman Miller Aeron chair. On day 4, it was missing. I looked around and another sales rep was sitting in it. I asked for it back, but he basically told me to F off. I went and spoke to the owner of the company. He told me that the chairs aren't reserved. They are first come, first serve. I explained that I own the chair, and it cost me $1,800. He told me that I need to come in earlier if I want that chair. The next day, the same guy was sitting in it when I got to the office. I told him to give it back, or I was going to call the cops. He refused, so I called the cops. It was quite the scene, but in the end, he admitted that he took my $1,800 chair. I was prepared. I had the receipt which showed the serial number. Yes, Aeron chairs have serial numbers. They asked me if I wanted to press charges. My new boss said I would be terminated if I had him arrested, so I said, absolutely, I want to press charges. My new boss fired me on the spot, so I carried my chair out with me a salve. I was leaving, and yes, the cops arrested the dude who took my chair. He admitted to it. The dude who took my chair has been in the industry for about 15 years, but he's going to lose his security license, which means he won't be able to work in the industry. He's going to lose his job. I don't give a shit. He shouldn't have stolen my chair. Am I the asshole for making this dude lose his job? BF mad at me because he opened up relationship and got no dates. AITA for how I responded. Me and my boyfriend, both 37, have been dating for just over 3 years. Prior to this, I was single for 8 years. Overall, it's been a healthy relationship. We are both independent, with our jobs, living situations, etc. I do love spending time with him. I don't really have any complaints. However, something that startled me was back about 6 months ago, him saying that he wanted to open the relationship up, meaning going on dates and sleeping with other women. I've never been in a dynamic like this, so I naturally had a lot of questions. He told me that I could also go on dates and sleep with other men. I honestly was a little skeptical at first, but after doing some research and having time to think, I agreed. He had told me that if at any point I wasn't comfortable, we could stop and close the relationship up again. One of the rules was, we don't discuss with each other what we're doing or who we're going on dates with, etc. I signed up to a dating app. Within a few days, I had 500+ likes, and it's been pretty steady since. So I started matching with people, texting and arranging dates. On average, I go on 1 or 2 dates a month. There are also some people in similar dynamics of open relationships that I am going on dates with, sleeping with regularly. I quite like the fact that everything is non-committal, so even though I was skeptical at first, I am enjoying the open relationship, as decided from before. I hadn't told my boyfriend about any of this. I was at my boyfriend's house the other day, and my phone was on the kitchen counter. He saw my notifications and then proceeded to go through my phone and read messages, including going through the dating app and whatnot. To say he was angry was an understatement. Turns out he opened the relationship up to take out on a date a younger colleague at his workplace, who misread his idea of a date as just a work lunch. He then openly told me that he wanted to see if it would work with her so he could ultimately leave me for her. However, she didn't want him, and it seems like no one else did either. In the last 6 months, he's had a few rough dates, but no one additional to sleep with. I feel somewhat embarrassed for him. He demanded we instantly close the relationship up, and I told him that maybe we should just end things or at least take a break. He was outraged and called me names, but he was the one who wanted this dynamic, so what's the problem? I left, and as I walked home, I contemplating fully breaking it off with him. He's been blowing my phone up, and I'm not quite sure what to say. AITA? Am I the a-hole for making my daughter's BF buy a new t-shirt? Tiny update. My daughter, son, and Dee Dee's boyfriend head back to school this next weekend. I miss them immensely when they're gone, but I'm so proud and excited for their futures. Boyfriend has been very respectful and shows real kindness. His parents and older brother came for dinner last weekend again. We are becoming quick friends. So, things are going well. Thank you all so very much, from both my wife and I, for the kind words. Small update, 5. Just to give you some info, older brother has been much better for the last little bit and actually enjoys the pink shirts. Apparently his GF likes them, and he's got a few compliments. My lovely daughter is more than ready to go back for her spring semester. BF has been around the house more and has very respectful. The two of them read the comments here, and she teases him. I know they're technically adults, but my wife and I insist on the door being open in any room they occupy together. Nothing is derailing her education. Her and her older brother are amazing scholars, and we are immensely proud of them. My wife is a teacher with 30 years experience, and I'm a truck driver for 25 years, but I'm also educated with a degree in clinical psychology. Anyway, I'm rambling. Take care. Update 4. Dinner was very pleasant. Let me say that his parents are great. BF showed up with red roses for my daughter and yellow roses for my wife. He offered what I thought was a very sincere apology and a card with the entire $40 in it, even though he'd given me the change and receipt on the original night. I cooked tonight to give my wife a break. I made an Indian dish called butter chicken with basmati rice. Neither had eaten curry before, but loved it. Woohoo! As it turns out, older brother is the family athlete, JV soccer, V soccer, and a sports scholarship for soccer, the quintessential jock. Little brother is the exact opposite. Artistic, he's got real talent, sensitive, quiet, and felt like he never measured up to Big Brother, and works to gain Big Brother's respect. Brother takes full example of this and exploits his little brother for shits and giggles. Near the end of dinner, daughter says, I think I'll keep him around for a little longer. You guys okay with that? We are good with that for now. His mom is the boss, though, for thinking outside the box. As punishment to older brother, mom went into his clothing, drawers, and closet, took every shirt off of him, and bought him 8 very bright pink t-shirts that he'll wear, until he realizes just how damaging exploiting someone, anyone, is. His access to cash is also cut off, until said lesson is learned. Anyway, a successful night, with new friends, was enjoyed. Hope this was the update you hoped. Update 3. This will make those of you following this saga laugh. I received a call this evening from Mr. BF's parents. Firstly, they are mortified and extremely apologetic. Secondly, and the whole best part of this update, I have their permission to squeal, is that his parents are on Reddit and commented on my post in support of the way I handled the situation. They told me that they love my daughter and that we'd raised her right and had not raised their sons to show this level of disrespect for anyone, let alone his GF. Apparently, BF was following up on one of my daughter's conditions and went to talk to his parents. As the story unfolded, his mom reached for her phone, opened Reddit, and yelled, "Is this about 5 King you?" To quote his dad. As the son read the first 1/2 paragraph, he died a little inside. So anyways, they are going to come to dinner tomorrow evening with BF. More updates tomorrow night. Update #2. My daughter called him about an hour ago, and this'll be informative. She asked him why he'd not told her what the shirt said when he talked to her. His reply was telling, because it was embarrassing. Then, she went on to ask him why he wore it originally, and he admitted that the shirt had been a gift from his older brother, 21, and that the older brother had dared him to, called him chicken when he objected, etc. Dumb sibling crap, apparently. She went on to tell him that none of what he'd done was cool, and that she really liked him, and that he'd always been kind to her. She said she wasn't breaking up with him, but that these steps needed to be done. First, he needed to explain to his parents the entire situation. Second, he needed to show up in person, to our home, and bring the money for the shirt, and, as she put it, put in a whole ass-kissing session that included the explanation of the dare, etc. She said that, if this was handled well, they could talk about moving forward, and what that looked like. After the phone call, she talked to her mom and I, and admitted that she forgot her worth. She said that I, as long as she'd been alive, had never gone out of my way to embarrass her mom, and that I'd always been respectful and not let anyone be disrespectful to her mom, made me feel good, so she wasn't going to settle for less. Good for her! I'll update after his visit later tomorrow afternoon. Update #1. After reading these comments and listening to everyone's point of view, I sat my daughter down this morning and asked what her BF actually said to her. This changes my opinion of him. Apparently, he'd not told my daughter what the phrase was on the shirt, but did tell her, accurately, what I said to him and asked him to do. He didn't use the word humiliated. That was Dee Dee's interpretation. Her rush to defend him came from our examples. Apparently, she's took note of times I've defended my wife, and vice versa. She also took note of our disagreements in private, after the fact. She is going to talk to him when he gets back tomorrow, to follow up on why he thought the shirt was appropriate for the family setting. I'll update again after that conversation. Okay, can you please settle a mild dispute for my family? The 23rd of December, my daughters, 19, BF, 19, came for dinner. We had a dinner then, because he's going away with his family for Christmas. He arrived, rang the bell, and I answered the door. He came in, took off his jacket, and that's when I saw it. He was wearing a t-shirt that said, "It's not gonna suck itself." I took one look at that shirt and asked him if he had any money. He said no, and asked why. I told him that the shirt showed a marked lack of respect for both my daughter and my wife. I pulled 2 20s out of my wallet and quietly ushered him back out the door and towards the Walmart 3 miles away and told him to buy a more respectful shirt and come back with it on. Mind you, this whole exchange took place between him and I, without an audience. He was gone for 15 minutes, came back with a nice polo shirt on, we had a nice dinner together, and nothing was mentioned of the incident. The next day, my daughter came to me and her mother and told us what I did, humiliated him. They aren't in breakup territory or anything, and no yelling or anything of the sort went on. My wife did tell me I could have handled it different. So, Reddit, am I wrong for handling it this way? And, if so, how could I have handled it? Edit. I'm 57 and a long-haul truck driver, so I've had my share of bad moments. Most of us guys here can remember stupid things that we did as a teen, even into our 20s. The ones that stand out for me are the ones where someone didn't react with anger or malice. They were the ones that someone reacted with constructive kindness, one where a quiet redemption was offered, where a mirror was quietly held up to my behavior. Those are the ones I learned from and appreciated the most. Hopefully, he comes out the other side with a new appreciation for kindness, offered quietly and without fanfare. Advised. Just my thoughts. AITA for telling my husband that I am going back on our agreement and I don't care if he cries about it. My husband and I, both 32, have been together since we were 19. Our entire relationship feels like it just blew up in my face, basically, and I can't tell if I am overreacting. So, we both wanted one child, and we have planned this for years. We wanted everything perfect first. The home, the careers, the savings, the investments, the nest egg, etc., 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 because we both knew from very early on that once we had a baby, I would be staying home full-time and raising our child. His brother's life was unfortunately cut short by a daycare worker when he was just 5 months old, back in 2017. So daycare wasn't an option, basically, and we need to make sure our ducks were in a row so I could stay home and be a full-time parent. 2 years ago, we were sitting on $500,000 in investments, a few nest eggs in different types of savings and bonds accounts. We bought the house. We even bought a damn boat. Everything we planned for fell into place, finally, and we started trying for a baby. We now have a perfect 4-week-old daughter. I have been out of work since I was 5 months pregnant, due to placenta abruption, but otherwise everything went fine. She's perfectly healthy, was a good weight, and I bounced back from the delivery fairly quickly because of how much of a support system my husband was. He did more than his fair share, while still working full-time, which is partially why I cannot tell if I am being dramatic or if this is hormones or PPD or whatever, like I am legitimately livid. So, basically, earlier this afternoon I get a phone call from DHS to go over health insurance options and whether or not the baby is eligible for state insurance based off our income. I had already given DHS all of our info, social security numbers, DOB, etc., when they called yesterday and was just waiting for all our info and assets to be pulled. Anyways, she calls and says we aren't eligible because my husband makes too much money and that we will need to add her to our private insurance. Absolutely no problem at all. I kind of figured that anyways. But then she offhandedly mentions that my husband is making $10,920 monthly gross and that the cutoff for state insurance is $7,830 monthly gross. Well, here's the issue. For months, my husband has been telling me that he only makes $6,000 a month after taxes. So I get off the phone, and I log into my husband's computer and into his banking, and sure enough, his monthly take-home is bordering around $8,500. He is transferring everything over $6,000 in to an account I didn't even know existed. So I call him out on it, and he breaks down and tells me that he just wanted something that was only his. Please keep in mind that all of my money has always gone into our joint account that he uses on a daily basis. So he is hiding money from me so he can have his own money, while plugging away at mine. Over $45,000 he has sitting in that account. While telling me last week that we couldn't have steak for dinner because spending $38 on 2 steaks was a waste of money. So I told him I am putting the baby in daycare and going back to work because obviously I need to safeguard myself if he is hiding away money. Something feels off about it, IDK. He instantly started crying. See above, daycare trauma. But I truly just don't trust him financially anymore. I no longer feel secure here. I said I changed my mind, and I don't care if he cries about it. AITA? AITA for telling my wife's friend I don't have to see her in the classroom to know she's a horrible teacher. My wife's friend was supposed to come watch fireworks with us tonight, but she just texted my wife that she isn't coming because I'm a nasty person who encourages my child to be rude and disrespectful. My wife and I just had a small argument about the situation that ended with her pulling a Big Lebowski on me and saying I don't have to be wrong to be an asshole. That's true, but I think her friend is the asshole, not me. I'll tell you what happened, and you decide for us. My wife's friend was at our house for dinner. She's a teacher, and she complains about it a lot. She says the parents are impossible to deal with, the administration is not supportive, everyone has an opinion on curriculum, and the kids don't listen. I include these complaints as context for the discussion. She told my wife she was working on her lesson plan for February and Black History Month, and that she was making a fact sheet about Martin Luther King Jr. for her kids. Our son, who is a huge Star Trek fan, said that she should include the fact that Mulkyu was a Star Trek fan. My wife's friend, with a very patronizing tone and expression I might add, said that maybe he would have been if he'd still been alive when it aired. My son said that he was, and that he used to watch it with his daughters. My wife's friend said that he died before the show aired. I told her she was wrong, and my son was right. She said I was a perfect example of a parent that can't acknowledge when her child was wrong. I said no, you're a perfect example of a teacher that assumes she knows everything and can't connect with her students because she doesn't respect them. My wife forced us all to change the topic. After dessert, I pulled up a video on YouTube where Nichelle Nichols was discussing talking to Mulkuj about Star Trek. I showed it to everyone. My wife's friend asked why I couldn't let the topic lie. I said I didn't want my son to feel like he was wrong for sharing facts he knows about his interests. My wife's friend said I don't know what it's like to be a teacher. I said I don't, but I know she's a bad one. She said I'd never seen her in the classroom. I said I didn't need to because I see how she is in her daily life. And people are who they are regardless of where they are. So my wife's argument is, I'm an asshole for bringing the topic back up after it was settled. She said I could have played the video for our son after her friend left and taught him about giving others grace and not needing external validation. I disagree and think it is important our kid knows we will always stand up for him. So am I an asshole? I told my friend why I don't want to date him, and our friends are saying I broke him. AITA? So my 21F, friend of 10 years Mark, not real name, 23 meters called me yesterday to meet him for lunch and that he had something important to discuss with me. I had free time, so I agreed. I met him already there and joined him. We had lunch. Then we talked a bit about random things. Then he cleared his throat and started speaking. He first told me that he didn't understand why I was dating my now boyfriend when he's a better match for me. I asked him to explain. And he basically went on about how he liked me first, and he met me first. He's more good-looking, knows me better, he's taller than my boyfriend, and more successful. Which is not true in a way. My BF works. Aside from growing up in wealth, while Mark's entire life is funded by his parents' money. LOL. He told me he doesn't understand how I can be with him when he's always been around waiting for me. I was out of words and asked him if he wanted me to be honest. To which he said, I told him that I would never want to date him given how I've seen the way he treated his past girlfriends. He ghosts them when he feels like it and just expects them to be there waiting. I told him he's too immature and irresponsible for me and that dating him would be exhausting. I also explained that the reasons I mentioned was why over time I started putting a distance to our friendship because I didn't like the way he treated the women in his life. When I was done, he was just quiet. He just excused himself and left. I went home and went about my day. Later in the evening, our other friends started asking what I did to Mark and that he's been a wreck since he met me for lunch. He's drinking and not telling anyone what happened. I explained to them what happened, and they are saying I was harsh and that I broke him, blah, blah, blah. But I think someone had to tell him the truth. So Reddit fam, am I the... Edit. I know everyone says this, but whoa. I didn't think this post would blow up so much. I'm trying to get through the comments and answer some questions that are there. Was sort of occupied the whole day, so I just opened Reddit. Thank you all for the comments, honestly. Edit 2. I'm so overwhelmed by the comments. In a good way. Most are really funny. I've been laughing so much I woke my sister's baby. I've sent my post to my friend, not associated with Mark, and our group chat is blowing up with more laughter. But in all seriousness, I'm thankful for the great comments and people giving advice on my safety. I'll definitely be more aware of my surroundings going forward. I don't know Mark as a violent person, but then again, this incident has proved that I may not know him like I think I do. Mark is currently blocked from everything. Our mutual friends who were supporting him and calling me out are also blocked. And this is also a learning lesson to me, to distance myself a lot more quicker next time I see red flags in future friendships. Thank you again, Reddit fam. If anything happens, I'll update you all. And I'll still be reading the comments and answering what I can. Edit 3. I have an update, but I'm not sure if I should put it below here since this post has gotten quite long. So I'll just make a new post for those who are still interested in this post. AITA for getting a woman fired over VeggieTales? My wife and I unfortunately have our son in daycare. It's unavoidable. A few months ago I picked him up, and when I asked him about his day, he told me about a show they watched with cartoon vegetables. When I dropped him off the next day, I asked the teacher if they watched VeggieTales. She said they didn't show the kids anything inappropriate. I asked, but did they watch VeggieTales? She refused to give me a straight answer. I said I don't want him to watch VeggieTales. She said he wasn't going to be allowed to watch anything inappropriate. That day when I got home, I asked, "Did you watch VeggieTales?" He did. I emailed the administration. They assured me, "No VeggieTales. It is not an approved media to show the kids. It has never and will never be shown." The next week I asked, "Did you watch VeggieTales?" Yup. I reach out again and am told maybe my son is confused. Right. So I wait a week, ask my boss if I can leave early, walk past the receptionist, she told me to stop, but I didn't, into the main room, and boom, there it is. VeggieTales. I took a picture. I was given a warning for barging in, fair, but the administration promised the VeggieTales thing would be solved. The teacher had to take all the tapes home, and she would not be able to bring in tapes ever again. Next week, did you watch VeggieTales? No, Dad. Great. Following week, did you watch VeggieTales? Yup. So I email again. At this point, I start getting other people involved. The anti-VeggieTales coalition. Even some of the Christian parents were annoyed. One woman watches it at home with her daughter and said she didn't want it watched at daycare because if her daughter has questions, she wants to be asked, not the teacher. Great. Join the anti-VeggieTales coalition. The resolution was that teacher got fired. Now there's a backlash against me. People feel bad. They feel guilty. It's all my fault. I pressured them into making it a big deal. They're just animated vegetables. Even my wife said I pulled a me and went on the warpath. Am I an asshole, or should she have just left her animated vegetables at home? AITAH for only doing the BAFE minimum when I got roped into babysitting. My sister, 38, invited me over for a family meal. Our parents were there too. After dinner, my mom and I helped clean up, while my dad and brother-in-law watched my nieces and nephew. Afterwards, my parents left. Then my sister and brother-in-law asked me if I could watch the kids for an hour while they went for a quick errand. I agreed. They got very dressed up for errands, but I didn't ask. They've done this before. I didn't usually have anything going on, so I don't really mind. Today I was clear that I had plans and 1 hour was my limit. My sister agreed to 1 hour. After an hour I called and she didn't answer. Half an hour later I texted my friends and said I couldn't make it. Then I proceeded to keep the kids alive. I felt I owed her that as family. Did I put them to sleep? Nope. Did I make them a snack rather than let them use the stove? Yes. Did I keep the little one from drawing on the walls while his older brother played Fortnite and the middle kid watched Stranger Things with me? Nope. I kept them alive. My sister got home a little after 1 a.m. Nephew was still playing Fortnite. Middle kid and I were still binging Stranger Things. Little was passed out on their bed. I got up and left. I've been hearing about it for a few days now, about how irresponsible I am. That 12 is too young for such a scary show. That my nephew has limited screen time. That they still haven't got the drawings off the walls. My parents are getting involved as well. I really don't care. I was told 1 hour. I agreed to 1 hour. I feel that I did a great job for 1 hour. Not really my problem after that. So 4 people think I'm being an asshole. 3 kids had a great night, and I think they won't try it again. AITAH for telling my wife to get a job if she wants to subsidize the kids. Up until our youngest kid graduated from university, I worked crazy hours out of town to pay for everything. I worked 6 weeks on of 12 hours days. Then I would get 3 weeks off. That works out to 56 hours a week if you average it out. I've been doing that since I was 35 years old. It allowed my wife to stay at home and take care of the kids and the house. We also used it to pay off our mortgage as well as new cars for cash whenever we needed. I'll describe our budget so you guys can judge. After taxes, we used my take-home to pay the mortgage and bills. We then paid into the kids' college funds, then into our retirement fund. Then we topped up our retirement account. We put money into our emergency fund. Then whatever was left, we split 50-50. Our tax refund was our vacation fund. Now I'm 55 and I'm tired. My body is beat and I need to slow down. Our kids are both through university. Both got their degrees and have jobs. I did my part. The company I work for had a job open for an office job. I applied and got it. It is a 9-to-5 city job, 40 hours a week. Better hourly rate plus other compensation. However, it is a lot less money without the overtime. I was getting 44 hours a week of overtime. That's huge. But we have money in the bank, and I have an easy stretch until I retire. My wife, however, is upset. Both kids are struggling. For the record, they live at home rent-free. But they want cars and apartments of their own. They can afford that. They just won't be getting luxury cars and huge apartments. We no longer have a mortgage, and my wife and I are both driving vehicles purchased in the last 3 years. Still under warranty. Our budget no longer has education funds either. We still have more than we need, and my wife and I each have $1,000 each month to spend however we want. I am saving up for a new garage. Shop. My wife has been giving hers to the kids. She is hinting that I should also contribute. I think I have contributed enough. I told her to get a job. She is only 46. She can go to work and give them her salary. I still provide housing and food for all of them, so she won't starve or anything. Her and the kids think that I'm being cruel, and one of the little shits said I was being lazy by cutting my hours so much. This is my hill to die on. I've done the hard work long enough. I want to enjoy my life. Am I the asshole for telling her to get a job and give them her money? AITAH for explaining the consequences of his actions to my son? My family lives in Canada. This is important. My kid was being bullied at school. He is a big kid, and I have always told him to resolve his problems with words. I've told him to report bullying to teachers, and if they don't listen, to tell the principal. Also to tell me and his mom so we can follow up. My son's after-school program is a Taekwondo class. Also important. He's been in Taekwondo since he was in kindergarten. He also plays hockey. There are a group of kids at his school that have been assholes to my kid and his friends. My kid did the right thing and told the teacher monitoring recess. She told him that the kids were new to Canada and that they didn't know how to fit in yet. He went to the principal and got told pretty much the same thing, so he told his mom. She wanted to go confront the parents, and she likely would have ended up in custody. She's Irish. Like real Irish from Ireland, not Marky Mark Irish. I told her I would take care of it. I made an appointment to talk to the principal and teacher, along with my son. I went into the meeting with a simple goal. Sue, stop the bullying. The principal and teacher both tried the same excuse on me, that these kids were newcomers, and they weren't fully aware of how Canada was different from their home country and what they saw on American TV. I asked what was being done to stop it. They said they had talked to the boys. I asked if the parents had been brought in and talked to. He said no. Okay. So I turned to my kid, and I explained that in Canada, kids under 12 years old cannot be charged with a crime. In fact, they can't even be arrested. Worst case scenario, if anything happened, he might have to do some community service. The principal and teacher went crazy telling me that I can't tell him that. I asked them if I was lying. They both shut up. I pointed to them and told my kid to remember that they didn't say I was wrong. I told him to tell me in a week if he was still being bullied. My understanding is that all the bullies' parents were called in and told to control their children. The bullies were also given library detention instead of recess for a month. I'm satisfied with the result, but the teacher and principal seemed upset. My wife thinks I should have given him the information privately.